So, welcome to Open for Business. We are here live with the Jeremy Davis.
The one and only.
Yes.
Here in cold
Fabulous
Savannah.
Equinox. Absolutely. So, for the folks watching, this is a TV show, an online show now about sharing tips and advice about your business. And I was talking with you about a month ago, and I learned so many interesting things of what you did for your business. So,
Sure.
The title of this show today is The Business of Music. So first of all, let's talk about the background, and then I want to get into some really specific business-to-business questions. So, first of all, how did you get started? I mean, you grew up with music, and are your parents entrepreneurs or musicians? Not really.
My folks are wonderful people, but they're not musicians and they're not really entrepreneurs. I think it just, I don't know. I think it found me. I started in the 6th grade band like every other band kid.
Were you playing the sax?
I was playing the saxophone and fell in love with it, and followed it all the way through college. And before I knew it, all the money I had in the world was coming from me playing music on the weekends. And and I went to college, studied business, and all my business studies were through the lens of music. So, which was a cool thing. And next thing I know, here I am, full-time music.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Louisiana, a little town called West Monroe, Louisiana, that was recently made famous by the A&E television show Duck Dynasty. So love it or hate it, those are my people. Yeah.
Okay, so. And then where did you go to college?
Louisiana Tech University, great school. Love Ruston, Louisiana. It's a beautiful place, and we go back there as much as we can. Matter of fact, we have a show there next week, back in Ruston, Louisiana.
Okay, so let's talk about the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra.
Sure.
When did it get started?
It started as a side project. I had a band called Howard Shaft that toured. It was like a big R&B kind of a funk band, Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire, that kind of thing, James Brown. And started as a Monday or a Wednesday night jam session, or jazz session. And it was funny because my friend Derek Mixon, who's now the drummer for Chris Stapleton, said, let's do this thing and we'll call it Equinox. And there's an old John Coltrane tune called Equinox. It has no real meaning or anything at all, but that's just what we called it. And then that other band kind of came to an end, so I was able to put more effort into that. So before I knew it, all my musical efforts were under the flag Equinox. And
tell me more about how you all came up with that name.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was
Fabulous.
Yeah. Oh well, the fabulous part was kind of a joke. I mean, it was some radio friends thought the band was fabulous, and they used to jokingly refer to me as Mr. Fabulous, which is hilarious. But anyway, it just kind of stuck, and I think it really fits the band because
tell us about the band. How many people are in it?
Sure. Well, the full orchestra is an 18-piece big band, and you never get to see an 18-piece big band anymore.
I never have until I saw you guys.
Well,
I saw them on television growing up. But...
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You don't see them anymore. It's truly fabulous. I mean, having 5 saxophones, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, full rhythm section, singers, and a show is totally different. I mean, most people, if you go see a band anywhere, you're seeing a 3 or 4, maybe a 5-piece band somewhere. So it is fabulous in every way. The way it looks, the way it sounds, and the whole swagger of it is so much fun.
So some of the questions I want to ask you are, are they employees? Are they 1099? I mean, this is a show about how can we really help somebody who's in the music business grow their business.
That's a great question.
But before we do that, let's get in your car because it's like 40 degrees out
here.
Yes,
it is cold. Let's roll.
So gosh, we get to go in this car. Tell me about this
That
car.
is a 1964 Lincoln Continental. It is
wow,
chock full of all the swing and swagger of the 60s, and it's my dream car, and I paid cash for it a year ago, so I'm excited.
All right, I'm going to get in and slide over. Oh my God, this is like going back in time. All right, I know the camera's shaking everywhere.
All right.
Hold on, I got to put my seatbelt on.
Put your seatbelt on.
Okay, you hold that for a second. All right. Look at the dashboard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an antique, that's for sure.
So it's 1964.
1964, and it is finicky as a 1964 car should be. And she likes to be driven. Oh, and there she went. See, she just quit on it. She said no. She said no, Jeremy. I'm not gonna go anywhere right now. When she's driven every day, she's golden. But when she sits up for 2 months, She says, no, I'm not happy with that, Jay. We gotta do something different.
All right. So we are just going to be driving around Savannah and hope we keep a signal. It's fun. It is so cold in Savannah, you can't believe it.
It's crazy. I don't ever remember a March being this cold.
And all these tourists are in town.
Oh, yeah. And they're like, I thought Savannah was supposed to be sunny south.
Yeah. All right, so Jeremy, let me ask you some of these really business-to-business questions. So how did you finance your startup?
You know, we finally got to the point where we needed cash. You know, I think the first big thing was we were going to do a major showcase in St. Paul, and it was going to cost me about $20,000 to do it. And we had just finished a huge successful show out at the Landings, and just hit it out of the park. And it was a lot of Landings folks that were there and helped produce the event. And we had a dinner after the show a couple days later, and they're like, what's next, Jeremy? And I explained to them what was going on and told them that I was, you know, they were like, how are you going to pay for that? I was like, it's going to be about 20 grand. I said, this is around 2008 too,
yeah.
right after the whole fiasco in the financial markets. And I explained to them I was going to go to the bank and try to get financing. They're like, it's never going to happen. I mean, they don't loan that kind of money to bands for sure. So we ended up getting that group of guys volunteered to be speculative investors, if you will, for us. They kind of pitched in random amounts of money.
How many were there?
I think it was 6 or 7 originally.
Okay.
And some came to the table with a couple grand. Some came with, you know, closer to 10 grand. And we made a really simple one-page business plan that said,
brilliant.
It wasn't even really a business plan. It was just kind of an investment plan that says, here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're going to do this, and you know, they're going to get 10% return on their investment the first year and 15% the second year.
Okay.
And we did it. We paid them their money, and then we did another term where we did we used the money for our great CD called Great American Swagger. Did a 2-year term. We killed it. We paid back our investors. We did a third one where we paid for a whole conference season, which was a huge success.
So how much did they get back, the investors?
Oh my gosh! Well, they made.
I mean, what?
Yeah,
percentage?
they were making 10% the first year and 15% the second year, depending on what they gave.
Okay.
So they were getting from me more than, you know, the market for sure. And I was finally able just to be able to pay it all off, and I could have used the money again. I mean, the guys were all in. They knew that we were good for it. We had set a precedent where we were gonna do good business for them. So we ended up just paying it all off, and you know, who's to say we won't do it again? We do a lot of mission work. We travel and try to do a lot of good in the world, and that's really expensive. We went to Poland this last summer, and it costs almost 30 grand. So we may do another kind of investment thing like that to support that. I'm not sure yet, but we're open to it. So
what is coming up for the Fabulous Equinox?
The biggest, most ambitious episode yet. It's our huge national tour. It's 54 cities, over 30 states, over 18,000 miles, and we leave Tuesday.
Oh man, I'm so glad I got to connect with you before you left.
Well, this one's cool because we're in the big 50-foot artist tour coach, and that thing is so spectacular. You get in, it's got a lounge in the front and a lounge in the back, and it's got a.
Man, I'd love. Can we drive by and see it?
You know, it's in Atlanta. I wish we could.
Okay.
If it were close by, we totally could, because you'd get a kick out of it. It sleeps. All 12 guys in the band have their private bunk, so it's living quarters. You know, traveling.
How long will you be gone?
It's we're out 3 weeks, and then we're home for Easter for about 4 days, and then we're out 4 weeks. So
Do you hire a driver? Is that how it works?
We have a professional driver, and he most of the time drives us through the night. If we got 8 or 9 hours to be in the next city or whatever, we might just travel through the night because it's easy. We find it easy to sleep on the bus. After a few nights of getting used to it, it becomes like second nature.
Okay, so here's another business-to-business question.
Sure.
That's a lot of gigs. How did you connect with those people? Did they connect with you? Did you connect with them? I mean, how did that happen?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it was a 2-year endeavor, to be honest with you. It started with some friends of ours in Nashville with a company called Live on Stage, in another company called Live Arts and Attraction. They're great. They're agents. They're ninjas in this business. We did a show in Nashville, and the entire audience was composed of talent buyers for theaters, and we slayed it.
So that's a really good tip right there.
Well, if you can get to do those, it is a great tip. I mean,
are they expensive?
They're always expensive to do. and it's really hard to get in. I mean, you have to really know somebody. Usually you have to apply for them, and they go through, you know, perhaps hundreds of auditions, and they pick the right acts that they really feel are going to resonate with their audiences, and that's what we did, and we killed it. We got more shows than anyone, and we were the most expensive act in the whole thing too, which was remarkable. So I've spent the last year really preparing for this, you know, booking the routing dates, because they would book 3 or 4 dates, then we have a day off, and then it was my job to fill the day off or either just take it as a day off. So we got a great team with Equinox. You know, Clay, the singer, works on the a lot of it. My musical director, Tommy Brinson, is great at so many different things.
I'm sorry, everyone's waving at this car.
It's like a parade. It really is. I mean, wherever you go, people are in a parking outside the coffee shop. People are taking pictures and posting on Instagram constantly, which is pretty funny.
That's fun.
But
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I was just saying it is a team effort of kind of booking all those dates and booking the right crew, the right band. I mean, because it's a huge commitment to be gone, you know, 54 dates. I mean, that's just a lot.
Oh, no left turn. Okay, so next question.
All right.
Let's get back to how many people are in your band, and
sure,
who is your audience?
Okay, great question. We do the band in 2 different versions: the full 18-piece orchestra, and then we do a smaller one that's 11. And we've had our arrangers.
Is that a traditional number in a traditional orchestra?
The full big band is a traditional number. It's a 17-piece band. That's what it is. 5 saxes, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, and then the rhythm section. That is a traditional number. We had our arrangers rewrite the show for an 11-piece band, because tour buses are made for 12 people. And you just can't. I mean, that's the biggest. I mean,
that's good business.
Well, it is good business. And
yeah.
I mean, matter of fact, a lot of touring acts, they build it with that in mind. They build a show with that in mind, because if you have 14 or 15 people, now you're in the position of having to rent this extremely expensive tour bus, an extra one, like the Celtic Women were in Savannah last night. They have 3 tour coaches, right, and 2 18-wheelers. So it's like their price to move around is thousands of dollars a month. With just one bus and a trailer, it's significantly less. The second question you asked me was my audience. Our audience is unique. I mean, because it's a big band, there's a lot of older folks that love it. But
it seems to be catching on with the younger generation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like the cool thing to do.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's different. I mean, you know, there's people like Michael Bublé and Harry Connick Jr. that have brought this music to a lot of to a younger audience, which is great. It helps a lot. And the way we do it is different too. I mean, we do Ray Charles, we do Johnny Cash, we do Elvis, we do original stuff. We'll do a cover of a new song, and all make it work inside our show. So our show is not, I tell people, it's not a romp down, you know, the 40s or memory lane. It's very much built in the heart of the 60s swinging Rat Pack stuff, sprinkled in with Motown and original compositions of our own. So our audience is the most diverse audience that I've ever had musically. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the types of venues that you play in?
Sure. This tour that we're on now is everything from big PAC, you know, performing arts centers that seat, you know, 1,000 people or whatever, to smaller, more intimate venues, you know, 250 seats or whatever. Which we love the smaller venues. I mean, we love it when it's just an intimate audience. To even churches. Some of these are community concert associations that use churches for their concerts, and then some of them are actually the church proper. Like, you know, some churches just love what we do and use it as a magnet to draw their community together to, you know, celebrate life and make new friends. So our first show on this tour is a beautiful Newberry, South Carolina, the Newberry Opera House, which is a beautiful venue. The second is a wonderful church in North Louisiana called Trinity, and they've got a concert facility there. And then from there, we're in Texas, and most of those are big theater. But of course, we do a lot of private events, really swanky, high-end private events. You know, all over the country. And we do corporate work too. We have some, you know, national businesses that bring us wherever their national meetings are, which is great. We have one company that we met in Savannah, that we did their following year in Vegas. We did the next year in, I think it was Austin. Wherever they go, they take us, which is cool.
Huh. Okay, where are we right now?
We are in Chatham Square, one that I'm less familiar with.
Isn't Savannah beautiful?
It truly is beautiful.
Yep.
Hello.
Tourists.
That's all right.
They are everywhere.
They're everywhere. We're thankful for them, right?
Yes, we are. So this is another very practical question.
Okay.
So you're traveling all over the country. How do you track your miles?
You know, it's different. We've experimented with different apps that do that, where you can kind of track it. And honestly, this one's in big tour bus it's different because there's so many expenses. I mean, I mean, you're talking.
Do you own the tour bus, or do you?
No. I mean,
okay, so you're leasing it.
We thought about it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be close to $50,000 for, for 54 days. But I mean, you buy a new one of these things, it could be $1 million
easily. Yep.
And you buy one that's the 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 years old. And you might get it for $200,000 or $500,000, whatever the market will bear, and depending on the mileage and all that. That's a whole different nightmare. I don't want to own one just yet. If we do this every year, then that'll be something that we do. One of a new revenue stream we're kind of exploring more is sponsorship of the tour bus. A lot of artists do that. I mean, we're friends with.
So that you can put your logo on the side of the bus.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm friends with a Grammy Award-winning bluegrass artist who gets $500,000 a year for their tour bus route. And, because it's a lucrative investment for a company that buys billboards, I mean, and it's much cooler than a regular billboard. You're talking, 18,000 miles in just our short little tour, riding around America telling the story via a double-sided 50-foot long billboard. So we'll do that for our next tour. We kind of missed the boat on that. This time we didn't really, honestly, we didn't think about it early enough before we took off.
Okay. Let's see. What other questions do we have for you? Well, actually, what marketing has worked best for you? You mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's
talk to us specifically about social media. How you promote a gig beforehand.
We do everything we can. From just making an event on Facebook, listing the event as an event and inviting friends and all that stuff. The problem is so many people do social media poorly that it makes it hard to be really effective.
Okay.
I mean, because you got everybody throwing up every gig at the last minute or everything they have. It's a lot of clutter. So to do it well is tricky, and we haven't exactly cracked that nut. We're working on it. We do buy targeted Facebook campaigns where we'll like for instance, if we're in New York City, for a month before, we'll target. We'll use some keywords. We'll use some of the different targeting methods that they have inside that program to focus. We try to tie as many folks to it. Like if we have a sponsor, we get them to share the event and all that. I mean, one of the things that works for us the best, strangely enough, is the newspaper. I mean, I worked for the newspaper. I worked in radio. I did sales and all that stuff. And I can honestly tell you that nothing has worked as well for us as getting stories or big ads in the newspaper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really, PR is so important. But even buying a big ad, I mean, people will see it and they respond. I don't know if it's, I mean, we just do it all, and we've done television. We go on WTOC, do the Mid-Morning Live, which we love them, and they've been good to us.
It all lives online afterwards, too.
It
so
does.
It builds your reputation.
That's right, it does. So we've tried a little bit of all of it. We do constant contact. We kind of manage a different email lists for different types of businesses.
Smart.
We'll have, for instance, we have a constant contact group of everybody that's ever bought an online ticket for one of our shows, at least from us. Like if they bought it from the Lucas or whatever, I don't have that information, but if they buy it directly from me, I've got that. I've got wedding or private event vendors in New York City. I've got performing arts center directors and all different lists. So once a month or so, we try to send out something that has relevant content for those different constant contact email groups.
So I think it was last year you were featured on public television.
Yeah,
PBS. That was huge. Tell us about that.
That was, gosh, we've learned so much. And like most of the time, we learn most of it the hard way.
Okay.
you know, we had a grand vision of, like I mentioned earlier, the Celtic Women were here in Savannah. Well, they are the shining example of what public television can do for an artist like me. Because the days of record labels paying for your record and getting you distribution, getting your record in all the stores is over. There's no more record store. So that whole paradigm is completely shifted to a new direction. So we figured PBS would be a great thing for us, you know, early on, and we kind of started to pursue it. The way it happened for us was the national PBS producers, some of them were in the audience at one of our New York shows.
Nice.
And they loved it, and they pursued us. We went on tour. We had like 10 days in Louisiana after that, and they kind of pursued us. And the way it works when you are kind of nobody, you know, on the scene like we are, and you're not like Celtic Women who have this massive TV audience, you have to basically pay for your own production, and that can be, you know, $500,000 easy.
Right.
And that's what they started telling us, that was the number we were having to deal with them. And then, you know, we just knew that we couldn't do that. Fast forward about a year, we ended up producing the same thing ourselves.
Okay.
PBS has a book that with all the specs, the way the show has, you know, the breaks and all that kind of stuff. So,
interesting.
so we learned how to make a show. We learned how to. We basically became TV producers.
Yep.
So we paid for it ourselves. We produced it ourselves. We distribute ourselves, and we've been fortunate because Georgia is people don't even know this, but Georgia is one of the largest PBS state networks in the country. I think it's like the second or third largest. And we did Georgia, we did our home state Louisiana. Both were successful, and the way PBS works is they're showing it. We don't even know when they show it. Sometimes they rebroadcast it. We don't even know.
Yeah.
I got a call yesterday saying that it was on in Louisiana or Arkansas and I think Minnesota somewhere. So it's just a legitimizer thing for us. When I can tell people we have a PBS special or a nationally televised event, that goes such a long way with someone who may not be familiar with who I am or what I do.
So I got another business question for you. Do you use an agent? And what advice would you have to other people in the music industry?
I do use an agent. I've had successful relationships with a lot of different agencies. What I have found in my experience is agencies are usually pretty specific, pretty focused on their area of what they do well. Okay. You know, there may be an agent who just really does great at promoting shows in New York City. There may be an agency that's great at Florida. There may be an agent that's really good at getting, you know, certain types of events or festivals. We currently right now we work with different agencies for different things. We have a great agency in Nashville who's working really hard for us. Live Arts and Attraction, they're great. They've got a really kind of a boutique list of artists, and they've been really good for us. I mean, they know a lot about the business, and they have a vested interest in getting us booked. So,
I mean, if I was a musician, I would want to ask, like, do you pay by the hour for them, or is it commission?
Yeah, it's all commission.
And what percentage?
Yeah, usually they make. It depends on what they do. I mean, typically they take 15%.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll take a little bit more if they're bringing a lot more to the table.
Okay.
And sometimes that's completely worth it. You know, they do a lot of work, and they do a whole lot more than just, you know, booking the occasional gig. But typically it's 15% of the total on the job they take, and that's a fair commission for me for sure.
So Jeremy, if you had to do it all over again, what would you have done differently?
I was having this conversation with my 14-year-old today.
Okay.
I would do a lot of things differently. I would probably study a little harder, pay a little more close attention in business school, especially the accounting classes, because I was focused on music as opposed to accounting.
You know, I often say if I had to get my degrees again, I would still do journalism, but minor would be accounting. Yeah. Especially if you're going to be a business owner.
And even now, I have such a great opportunity musically. I would go back to the beginning. I would have learned piano from the outset.
Oh.
Because if you know piano, it's easier for you to speak the language of music. Easier, you know, the chord structures and and the harmonies and all that stuff. And if you're going to write music, or if you have obviously a big band, it would be great to be able to arrange. And arranging is a really cool skill set. I mean, you know, for instance, I might have 15 versions of the song, whatever, "Fly Me to the Moon," but you know, maybe I have, you know, the way the arranger approaches the song makes all the difference, and how hard it swings, the tempo, the style, whatever. I don't have that skill set, and I would love to have that skill set. I'm kind of like so that's one thing I would do differently. I would study arranging and play piano.
So on a personal note, tell us about, you're married, how many kids?
Yes, I am married. I have a beautiful wife, and her name is Meredith. And
she must be very patient.
She is.
Does she ever get to go on the road with you?
Well, yes, she does. We took the whole band in a tour bus with 4 wives and 7 children, all the way to Halifax.
My God. You should have videotaped that.
All the way to Halifax, Nova Scotia, right?
Gosh.
It was, and you know, and she had a blast, and she went, and it was, of course, it's a lot. I mean, you know, you don't really have any personal space when you're on one of these kind of things. So she comes as much as she wants to come. She's really kind of over it, over the travel. Every once in a while, we'll have some really cool gig somewhere, and she'll want to go. But I've got 3 children, 9, 10, and 14. And we have homeschooled up to this point, which has been I was kind of opposed to it at first for a couple of reasons, but we did it primarily just because we wanted to be the primary influence on our children. That's it. We wanted to take them and experience life with them.
And you can travel.
You can travel with them, exactly. They've gone all over. We did the Chautauqua Institute in Chautauqua, New York. They've been to New York City. They've been all the way to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and all points in between. Quebec City. I mean, all kind of cool stuff they got to see. And right now they're going to Veritas here in Savannah, which is still technically homeschooling, but it's a little more structured. So, yeah, we have family's the most important thing to me, and it is a balance. I tell people all the time, I'm still home way more than I'm gone. I still have way more time with my family than I ever did when I had a 9-to-5. I mean, I was hustling really hard when I was selling radio or newspaper, and I would leave every day at 7 o'clock or so in the morning, and I would get home till 7 or so. And now it's not unusual for me to, drop my kids off at school, pick them up, have dinner most every night. We just have these seasons of travel when we, have to hit the road and we're gone from family a little bit. But that's kind of a thing. Nashville's that way. There's a touring season and there's an off season, which is almost like football. It's kind of funny. The way that works. So we don't sacrifice our families for all this stuff. So we are super fortunate to do what we do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what kind of reading do you like to do besides business books?
I've got, what I love is I love Audible. You do Audible?
Yeah, I do Audible.
Audible's,
that counts as the same.
It does count the same. It totally does, because
especially when you're driving.
Oh, it does. When you're traveling, and I'm an auditory learner anyway. I'm not.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not. I mean, I wish I'm not. Some people can sit down and read a book and learn something. That for me is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I can learn it by hearing and learn it by doing. So I do like. I have several different business books that I love. Dave Ramsey. I've read all his books. Books about. I just downloaded like 3 or 4 new ones. I'm a man of faith, so I like. Reading books about about that type of stuff. I have a good friend of mine who tries to read a book a month, and that's pretty aggressive. That's
you can
hard.
do that with Audible.
You can do it with Audible. I can't do it otherwise because I'm just I'm kind of ADD. I guess we all are to an extent. Audible's my thing. I love that.
So, do you guys live out on the islands, or are you downtown?
We just moved to the south side, to Georgetown, which is funny because I was opposed to Georgetown. I'm going to park here just for a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
This old beast is acting a little squirrely, but we moved to Georgetown on the day of Hurricane Matthew, which was crazy. So we've been there for a couple of months, but we love it out there. It's we moved to the backside of that place, and it's just I love being closer to Savannah because we did live in Effingham County, so that's where we live.
Okay, so what's the next step for you guys? You guys are on fire. I'm so impressed with what you've done.
It's crazy.
With this.
There's so much to it. I mean, there's just a lot of aspects. You know, well, one of the things we did is just business. We just kind of isolated the different income streams that we have, and you know, and how we've done year over year, and what we need to work on. So we've kind of made a bit of a plan, even while we're on the road, to focus on all that stuff. Really hustle the things we need to hustle, and just be really what's the word, discipline about business, because you know most musicians, they don't think about business at all,
like artists,
right? Exactly. Most artists, they don't think about it at all, but it is a business, and very rarely is it just the most wonderful artist that's the most successful. You know what I mean? You got to have talent to be in the game, and that's an understood, it's a given, but the most successful people are the ones that work the hardest, you know, the ones that have a business an understanding of the business that they're in, and are disciplined about it. So that's the thing, just getting up every day with intentionality to pursue the different revenue income streams that we have, and just making that work. So the tour is going to take up a lot of time and a lot of energy, but the sun will set on that at the end of May, and then we're back to the real world of major private events, producing our own shows, traveling and doing more one-offs where we'll fly to Colorado for a corporate event, or go to New York for a weekend to play a couple of shows and go see some Broadway, whatever. So that's I'm excited about the tour, but I know come May 21st, I'll be glad to be home.
Yeah, I'm sure you will be. Who's been a major mentor for you in your life?
I've had several different mentors, musical mentors, and as far as business goes, I was working at a music store, and I loved that job. This is probably 15 or 16 years ago, and I ended up teaching saxophone lessons to the people who owned all the radio stations in Monroe, Louisiana, and they became really good friends with them. They're like, if you could sell stuff at the music store, you can sell radio and make more money. So I ended up working for them, and I really learned how to sell there. I learned, they had all these different courses, and I was one of the only ones that actually went through them all. And I learned just, the little bits of communication that are important to sell something.
Like what?
For everything from how to approach car dealers to how furniture stores work, to the way the banking system works as it's related to advertising. I had to learn all that stuff. Did it work for them for several years, then moved to Savannah and worked for Clear Channel Radio out here, and then went from there to work for the newspaper. Just different managers. Really who just kind of invested in me, and just kind of saw something special, and just helped me become a better salesperson.
When you need to use it in this business.
That's it. I'm in the sales business, and most musicians, they're not. They're in the business of how to play the flute better or the saxophone better, and that's part of it. But when it comes down to business, well,
you're managing 17.
Yeah, it's a huge. We signed 1099 over 200 people this year, and that's partly because we travel so much, and I don't always bring the same crew. I have different folks that play different shows or whatever. We're all about the business. The business is what supports us all, and there's so we've got to be diligent and hustling really hard.
So, what advice would you give to musicians that are watching this? What's the big takeaway?
I think a little bit of what I just mentioned. The bottom line is almost every single musician that I know, they're just all about how to play better. For instance, you can get a doctorate in saxophone performance from the University of North Florida. You can go on to Juilliard or the Manhattan School of Music and get extended degrees in how to play better. I don't think they're ever going to touch the business that you're in. And I have had it happen on more than one occasion where people have called me after going through extended degree programs and being extremely successful, can play circles around everybody that I know, and they're working in fast food. And they call me like, what am I doing wrong? I was like, well, here's a short dissertation on what you need to do. You got to figure this out. You got to figure out, you know, where you can play, the country club, who books the entertainment. I mean, little simple things, but that don't cross a lot of people's mind. But do all these things. Manage this list of people that you need to contact.
Wow.
Go see them. Go visit them. Become their friends and communicate with them regularly. And they're going to hire you. And it's probably not going to be just because you play better. There's people in this town who hire me for their private events because they know that I'm going to bring it musically, but they know that I'm going to do all I can possibly do to deliver for their clients and to make it the most professional experience. They're not going to have to worry about me being late or having anyone unprofessional on my team. And all that stuff is what makes the difference in making a lot of money in this business or just being a sideman and just kind of eking through. And not that you can't make a lot of money being a sideman, because you can. But you know, that's just never really approached in the school of music, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is definitely.
I mean, I know
but you've learned it.
I didn't learn any of it in school. I mean, I learned it in business school. You know, I didn't learn it because I studied business and music. The people who just study music, they don't really get any of that. And I know that some schools offer like a business class or whatever, but I believe it's a grave injustice that's delivered upon so many young musicians where their head is full of these, especially jazz guys, because they're the worst. You know, they play this super heavy stuff a lot of times that's really phenomenal, but it's really focused on a tiny, tiny, minute part of the music consuming world. And I'm sure the same thing is for, you know, somebody, if you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting some super, super exclusive degree from SCAD in an art that is, you know, really hard. They don't really approach the subject of how you're going to make a living in this.
Yeah.
Much less pay back the loans you had to get to. So I know that's one of those things that as an artist, I would say you've got to pursue having a business mentor, finding someone who can teach you about the business that you're going into, because that's going to make all the difference.
Gosh, what great advice. Well, y'all are killing it. You're totally killing it.
We're so blessed. I mean, really, we're so fortunate.
Are.
I mean, it has been, when I look back on it now, even just the day-to-day thing, the fact that I get to wake up and then pursue my passion every day is such a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's funny because the real person I had to convince was my wife.
Yes.
And we did the whole Dave Ramsey thing. We paid off all our debt, and except for our house or whatever. And so I knew exactly how much money I had to make to make the, month work. And I showed my wife that, like a year's worth of expenses. I said, look, I've made enough money in just music all the time, and I'm giving it just a little bit of my effort. And I basically convinced her. I said, what could I do if I could get up every day and pursue this and just pour the coals to it, work hard? What could I do? And every single year since I made that transition has been better than the year before. So
what does your day look like? I mean,
I get up early. I mean, I'm up super early. I get up at 6 or 7 o'clock, and I usually take my take Maddie to school. And she's going to be there at 8 o'clock, so I do that. And then I park the old Lincoln downtown somewhere, and I'll bounce from coffee shop to maybe I'll have breakfast or whatever. But I like the vibe of the coffee shops, and I like to sit down and just knock out 3 hours of whatever I have to do that day. If it's budgeting for a tour or if it's booking shows. Obviously, if it gets too noisy, I'm managing all it, managing personnel. I'm also booking. It's not unusual for me to have 2 or 3 events in the same day, where I'll be somewhere with the big band, I'll have a trio in Hilton Head somewhere, and then a quintet playing some private event, like a wedding or something in Savannah. So I'm managing all that, communicating with all the people, building the budgets, and then doing payroll. So at some point, I like to play the saxophone.
You're so good at it.
But it's that's one of those things where that saxophone playing is just a fun part of it, and it's obviously it's the heart of what I do, but I'm doing so much more business than I'm doing playing the saxophone. So that's my day.
Gosh, well, thank you so much for sharing all of this information.
Thank you for letting me run my mouth about it.
These business owners online. So anyhow,
it's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.